Stock market and SoFi investors, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk to you guys about institutional ownership and some of the bigger companies that are buying into SoFi stock. One that I found very, very interesting, and that is Bank of America, right? So before we get started, guys, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It does really help this channel grow, right? So if you take a look, man, Vanguard owns a ton of SoFi shares, coming in right around 100 million shares of SoFi stock. Really, really impressive stuff. They own almost 10% of the entire company, followed by BlackRock coming in at 47 million and change. But what I want to talk to you guys about today is Bank of America, right? If you take a look right here where my cursor is, they have increased their stake in SoFi by 124%. This is simply Wall Street. It's a great kind of resource that you can look up institutional ownership. And they own right around 10.7 million shares of SoFi. So that is a huge increase. They are increasing their stake more than pretty much every other company in the world right now. And I think SoFi investors should take that into consideration if you're thinking about owning SoFi stock, right? They actually own more shares than Anthony Noto right now. So another great asset I like to use resource is Fintel, right? So if you take a look right now, SoFi investors, institutions own around 50.68% of the company, 560 million shares, right? And if we come down here and we click the shares part, it's going to show us all the companies and their ownership of SoFi stock, right? So if we go down and we find Bank of America, Fintel is a little more updated than Simply Wall Street. I like Simply Wall Street's layout better, but if you want up-to-date, day-to-day institutional ownership information, you got to go to Fintel. So according to the most recent 13F filing on May 15th, they now own 11.5 million shares. So they increased, like we said before, what? 124%. And they added another 800,000 shares of SoFi stock since this was last updated a few months ago, right? So that's crazy. So this increased percentage is probably more now, around like 150, 175%, right? So the increase that Bank of America is putting forward is really, really, really interesting, right? 11.5 million shares owned by Bank of America, right? And if we look here, that puts them right in between Renaissance Technologies and Morgan Stanley, right? So they just added they have 1% of the company now, Bank of America does, right? And that puts them in the top 10 overall institutional owners for SoFi stock. When big banks are starting to buy a bank stock, that means there is some money to be made, and could potentially down the road, a company like Bank of America, could they potentially buy SoFi and their platform? That would make a lot of sense, because if you look at the Bank of America business model, there's a ton of overhead in that brick and mortar space. They don't really have a great online presence, in my opinion. And what SoFi offers would really make this Bank of America platform one of the top platforms for banks in the entire country, right? So I was really, really interested when I came across this, and I had to share it with all my subscribers, right? 124%. And then I always like to double check with Fintel. So when I did, boom, 11.5 million, up from what? With 10.8 before. So that increase is even up and up and up even more. So you're talking about 150, 175% increase in their shares over the last quarter, 6 months. It's really impressive what they're adding, right? So really, really impressive. I love that. And then Vanguard crushing it, BlackRock crushing it. Between those two companies, they own closing in on 15% of the company. State Street Global, Morgan Stanley, Anthony Noto. I like to see big banks, Charles Schwab, Wells Fargo. However, it's not all rainbows and sunshine, right? Wells Fargo trimmed their position by 16%. Dimensional Fund Advisors trimmed by 36%. Two Sigma Investments and Advisors, I guess it's two different stratospheres of the same company, right? Both decreased their ownership as well. But Renaissance Technology and Susquehanna International Group all added to their positions, and the big dogs are still adding, like BlackRock and Vanguard. Adding 1% is a lot, considering they already own almost 100 million shares of SoFi stock, guys. I thought that was a cool little gem that I could let you guys know. I know the stock was up to 18. It's back in the 13s now. It's been selling off a little bit this week, but I wanted to let you know some of the big dogs are really putting their money where their mouth is and adding to their position. And companies like Bank of America is significantly adding to their position, and we'll have to track it over the next 6, 12, 18 months and see if they continue to add and build out that position. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next SoFi video. Peace.